Good evening and welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting of August 28th, 2023. In accordance with LB 898, please be advised that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is at the back of the room in the northwest corner. Let us rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a brief period of silent meditation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. The order of business for the City Council is as follows. The clerk will call the items listed on the agenda. Under public hearing, anyone wishing to speak on an item should come forward after the clerk reads that item. The council shall require any member of the public desiring to address the council to identify themselves, the name of an organization or group, including your address, and then unless the address is waived to protect the security of the individual. The applicant may then make one short rebuttal. Each speaker should begin by stating their name and organization and address as well. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. On the second and last Monday of the month, this is one, immediately prior to the adjournment, anyone may speak on any issue not on the agenda for that date nor planned for a future agenda. Will the clerk please call the first item of business?
Our first item of business today for a City Council meeting of Monday, August 28, 2023 is a reminder that due to the Labor Day holiday, City Council will not meet on September 4th of 2023. Next would be our consent agenda, sections 1, 2, and 3.
All right. Is there... And I believe we have someone here to speak on a consent agenda, the first one. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the council. It's a pleasure to be before you tonight. I'm here to introduce the nomination of Peter Hind to become the next director of our city's urban development team. And for some of you, Peter, it will be a familiar face. He's been a valued public servant to our city, having served on the urban design committee. He's also been involved with some of the, as a private sector leader on some of the designs of our fire station 8 as we've worked to renovate that and rebuild that station. But I also want to just highlight just what incredibly rich professional experience he brings to this role, having seen so many complex projects through to completion through his work at Schemmer and owning his own firm as well. He's got considerable experience in architecture, engineering, and construction, and 23 years of experience in residential, commercial, multifamily, and healthcare design. He currently, until Friday, served as the manager of the Lincoln Architecture Group at Schemmer Associates, and prior to joining Schemmer as a senior architect in 2019, he was a founding partner of Studio 951 in Lincoln and principal of award-winning Found Architects. He was also a tenured professor at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, so brings another perspective very valuable to the work we do here in the home of the flagship university for the University of Nebraska, the flagship campus of the University of Nebraska. In my discussions with Peter, I was just so impressed with his knowledge, his commitment, his love of the city, as well as his ability to really articulate a vision for how we grow a smart and sustainable, economically vibrant city. And I really believe that his skill set and that passion will position him well in this new role as he works to serve our broader community. And I know how important the work and leadership of the Urban Development Department team is to all of you. So I humbly ask for your support for his nomination. I think it's a great fit. Thank you. Here's Peter.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hind, would you like to say a few words?
Well, all of the professional things were sort of highlighted, but I thought I would just talk a little bit about the personal stuff. So I've been in Lincoln. I went to the calendar and checked 29 years and 8 months almost to the day. Because of my wife, who was born in Lincoln, grew up in Lincoln, went to Lincoln East, and between us and our son, we have 5 degrees from the University of Nebraska. So it's Lincoln's been home for a long time. We've tried to leave, but the tractor beam of Lincoln has sort of pulled us back each time, and it really is home for us, and it has been great to raise 3 kids and go through Lincoln Public Schools and be a part of the community. It's just been really wonderful. So in my teaching career, it was wonderful to teach at the University of Nebraska, but also to take students to Chicago, St. Louis, and other cities around the country to sort of grow and understand what urbanistic and urbanism is and how to act as a designer. In Lincoln, it's been great to be on the Haymarket Development Corporation. I was the president of that for a while, not-for-profit. Did things like Heydays in the Haymarket. So it goes back quite a long time. And I just think it's been wonderful to have a professional career that's also dovetailed with people like NeighborWorks and Lincoln Housing Authority. So I think I'll bring to this role a really wide bit of experience, but also a very focused direction to work with you and the mayor and our team in urban development, who I've worked with on 3 TIF projects, the Stack apartments on P Street, recently the Post Lofts, Chase Bank, Lululemon. I was the project architect for that project. So I've been around Lincoln for a long time, and I'm really looking forward to this, and I appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Any questions?
Counselors?
What project would you say you're most proud of?
Most proud of? Oof.
Sure, unless you have a list.
I got to make sure, where clients are and everything. I'll tell you, the project I'm most proud of is a house that I'll tell you about very, very quickly, and it's friends of mine bought it, and it was next door to my house, and it was pretty run down. And it was the original farmhouse around 56 in the Piedmont area, 56th Street and O Street and Randolph and things. And they said, it's great, yeah, you can do this project, it'd be wonderful, but as long as it looks like you didn't add on to it, then we'll be happy. And we added on significantly, remodeled it, gutted it and everything. And an older resident walked by as I was fixing the sprinkler in the front yard as they were moving in. And the lady leaned down and said, well, what did you do to this house? And I said, I can't tell if you can't tell. And that's my favorite project.
That's great.
Thank you very much, and I think it's always great to have someone with real-world experience that teaches as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, I am going to add my words in. Mr. Hind, your reputation precedes you, and in the last 4 years plus, even as a planning commissioner, I always looked for what you said at Urban Design Committee, because I knew if you were in agreement or you had questions that I could pay attention and follow your lead. So welcome to the city of Lincoln, should the vote go in your direction.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, please.
Is there anyone else that would like to testify on any items on our consent agenda? We can now vote. Item 1A is appointing Peter Hind as Director of the Urban Development Department, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's vote.
Schob,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 1B is reappointing Lee Kramer and Sharon Bush to the Aging Partners Area-Wide Advisory Council for terms to expire June 30th, 2026, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments?
We'll be doing this all night, right?
We're going to be doing this all night. Any comments? Hearing none, let's vote.
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 2A was introduced by Schob.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, second by Carlson.
Carlson? Yep.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you.
That concludes our consent agenda. We shall move on to Section 4, of Public Hearing Liquor Resolutions. I'll be calling items 4A and 4B together. Item 4A is application of Ballard Family LLC, doing business as James Arthur Vineyards Tasting Room for a Class C liquor license located at 803 Q Street, and the related manager application of James M. Ballard.
All right, is someone here? Oh, yay. Come on down.
Good evening, council members. My name is James Ballard with James Arthur Vineyards. I'm at 1503 West Raymond Road. And I'm here today. We actually at the James Arthur Vineyards, we're celebrating 26 years this year. And in all those years, we've only been able to sell the products we made because of the Farm Winery Act, which we're fine with, which is great. But the legislature this last session passed a bill that allows us now to sell other alcoholic products on site, which really allows us to attract more special events. I don't know why no offense to my beer friends in the audience, why anybody would want to have a cold beer over a glass of wine, but that's okay. But no, it takes a lot of good beer to make good wine. I've tried that. So, but anyway, as part of that application process, we also have a tasting room down in the Haymarket, the From Nebraska gift shop. So we can apply for a license there as well. This Class C is what we're applying for. And to be honest, we are the From Nebraska gift shop, and our plan right now is to just sell Nebraska products down there for, again, special events, football Saturdays, that type of thing. Our main goal, what we sell is our wine that we make, but this just gives another opportunity, another option to expand our business. So I'm just here to answer any questions that you might have this evening and go from there.
Any questions? Well, congratulations on 26 years.
Thank you, appreciate that.
All right, next up.
We're calling items 4C and 4D together. Application of Zipline Brewing Company LLC, doing business as Shilling Bridge Cork and Tap House for a Class C liquor license located at 575 Fallbrook Boulevard, Suite 109, and the related manager application of Marcus A. Powers.
Hi, this is Marcus Powers, M-A-R-C-U-S, P-O-W-E-R-S, and I live at 6640 Everett Street here in Lincoln.
All right, Mr. Powers, why don't you tell us a little bit about your application?
Sure. We have recently had to move on from our old tap room that was connected to the brewery to expand the brewing facility, and we've found a synergy with the Shilling Bridge folks to partner in a venture by essentially temporarily allowing the Shilling Bridge restaurant operation to continue on as it stands today, and to take their full staff in with our team. And then we will have a subsequent application come before you if approval is favorable for this application, and it'll be to add another 1,600 square feet to that restaurant for additional overflow and lounge space. But then in general, we'll be converting it into a Zipline pub and tap room with food and full service beverage options within the next few months. So,
Great.
Any questions?
No.
All right, are you open, when will you be open in your new location?
So currently they are open and doing business still as the restaurant has been under the temporary operating permit. And then we hope to segue that as soon as we have all of our licensing complete.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. One more.
I'll be calling items 4E and 4F together. Application of Vu Tan Yung, doing business as Husker Nails and Spa for a Class I liquor license located at 4900 North 26th Street, Suite 102, and the related manager application of Vu Tan Yung.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Vu Dong, and I'm an applicant on the liquor license for Husker Nail and Spa located at 4900 North 26th Street. And we're seeking a liquor license to enhance our customer experience by offering alcohol beverage alongside with our nail service.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds like an interesting experience.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone have any questions, comments?
What kind of beverages are you going to be offering?
Just like wine and beer.
Wine and beer?
Yeah.
And is there a business similar to that in Lincoln?
No.
At a nail place?
That's never. I think yes. Some business like
Some businesses
service
do
alcohol.
that.
Too. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes. I have just one question. I see that you have training. You're going to take your training in a
Yeah, I
couple
did
of
all the
weeks?
training. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the best of luck to you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next up.
I'll be calling item 4G, manager application of Andrea L. Rocker for On the Rise LLC, doing business as Blaze Pizza located at 1317 Q Street.
All right. Is the applicant here? We can move on.
I'll be calling item 4H, application of Renteria Taco Rico, Inc., doing business as De Leon's to expand its Class C liquor license for an addition of an outdoor area measuring approximately 31 feet by 14 feet at 5012 North 27th Street.
Is the applicant here? We can move on.
Item 4I is application of Texas Roadhouse Holdings LLC, doing business as Texas Roadhouse for an addition of an indoor area measuring approximately 16 feet by 30 feet at 6301 Apples Way.
All right. Welcome.
Welcome. Good evening, members of the council. My name is Kurt Magnus. I live at 6442 Parducci in Lincoln, and I am the managing partner at the Texas Roadhouse. We basically have added on a room with 9 more tables. We're just extremely busy, and we're just trying to accommodate more folks. It's indoor. And yeah, we're looking to expand the liquor license to cover that room addition.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Well, congratulations on your expansion. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Next.
Okay, I'll be calling item 4J, application of Yin Family LLC, doing business as Hero 88 for the addition of a catering license to their Class C liquor license at 601 R Street, Suite 100.
Good evening. I'm Chadwick Fisher. I'm with Hero 88, 5950 Opus Circle. After 10 years, we've decided that we need to get a catering license added to our license. We have some future hopeful plans for more street closures and some more events down on the rail yard. So just kind of preparing for that. What's ahead?
That's good news.
Yes.
Any questions?
Yay.
Perfect. Good luck.
Thank you.
Oh,
You can stay.
Yeah, I'm going to be up here for a little bit. So.
Okay, yeah. Happy to hang out.
Now the fun begins. Yes.
Yeah.
Fun begins, yes.
Item 4K is application of Yin Family LLC, doing business as Hero 88 for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 160 feet by 69 feet at 350 Canopy Street on August 30th, 2023 from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m., September 9, 16, 23, and 30th from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m., October 21st and 28th from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m., and November 11th and 24th from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m.
Chadwick Fisher again with your 88, 5950 Opus Circle. We, just as we did last year, we've entered an agreement with the landlord to take over the public market space, to activate that for volleyball day, for a concert, for game days. There's an evident need for that space to be activated with the business that's done down there. Had a great time last year. It was very successful. People really enjoyed having that. There's always been somebody in that space over the 10 years that it's been open. So it's just kind of filling that void. And it's a good way for us to be more involved in the rail yard since we're across the street and we have expenses that we pay to operate the rail yard, even though we're not included in that on a day-to-day operations. So this way we can be a part of that for some major events and help out with the guest experience in there. So we'll be serving in the public market. They can carry it out into the rail yard. We're not setting up in the rail yard itself. It's just the public market area that we have a rental agreement. So just like every other business, it'll be carried out into the rail yard. So any questions?
There might be some questions.
Yes.
Anyone?
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you for coming forward. I was struggling to remember the name of public market, and you said in your
Yes, sorry, that's
testimony.
what we deemed it over the years, yes.
Yeah, thank you. I was struggling with them. They used to have a name, public market. Thank you for doing that.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. And I noticed it was 9 dates, I believe, that
Correct,
you've
yes.
got. And
Yes.
so good luck. I hope all of them work out for you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
All right.
that.
All right, I know you're going to come back a little
he's not
bit,
going anywhere.
Yes.
a little bit later. All right.
Mm,
So we'll see you soon.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Next up,
Mr. Marsh would like to testify on that item.
Eric Marsh, Longwells, 350 North Canopy, Lincoln, Nebraska, 68508. It is with trepidation that I speak in opposition to this SDL. Normally, when I stand in front of the dais, it is to ask for something that expands or grows the rail yard. If it passes, great, we move forward. If it fails, we're no worse than when we began or when we asked. With this one, we move backwards. Longwells will lose over $100,000 if you approve this SDL. We can say that there's always been someone in that place, but there's always been someone paying rent in that place, okay? So I don't want to throw around numbers like that. I will come back to them there. First, a quick walk down a well-intentioned lane. As I only have 5 minutes, I will be quick. The rail yard and the entertainment district are based on a simple premise of extending and overlapping liquor licenses. You need a full-time annual lease to get a Class C liquor license. Our Class C licenses are extended via an entertainment district license into the common area where they overlap. History lessons over. It's just that simple. Need a Class C license and an entertainment license in order to participate in the rail yard. That's the way it is. So why am I standing before you? Simple. Hero does not have a Class C license in the public market for which they're asking for an SDL. When you sign one-day leases or a series of one-day leases, you are by definition an outsider coming inside for big days. We can talk about how we did this last year because it slid through without us seeing it. We raised holy hell. We filed a lawsuit afterwards, okay? We firmly believe this damages Longwells. A standing member of the rail yard, a standing member of the entertainment district, and it has huge ramifications on it. I will get to those in a minute. All right, now, for the times that I've stood before you and I've been asked, do I have my neighbor's signatures? That was to expand and to grow. I'm amazed that somebody can come into my liquor license area without my signature. I am startled that that is a process, and the only recourse I have is to stand in front of you in public and say, I don't want this to happen. There is no other recourse that I have other than what I am doing right now. Now, I want to be clear. I don't own the entertainment district. I don't own the common area. I don't have exclusive rights to it. But what I will say is I'm one of the 2 remaining custodial parents of the rail yard, okay? We have paid rent month in and month out, right? There have been many, many, many dry days. The rail yard has been feast or famine for a decade. And to have someone from the outside who is not part of the rail yard, they are part of the entertainment district, come in, sign short-term leases so that they can feast when it is our chance to eat, when it is our chance to harvest. It is just wrong. Now, I would not, and I have not appeared before you to argue against somebody leasing that area and applying for a Class C license, okay? And I would not, and I have not came before you to say do not give an SDL to the internal space, because that is a private land, and I don't think that this dais nor this council has the right to say that WRK does not have the right to lease the space for whatever period of time to whoever they want to do whatever they want to do. So the SDL on the inside of the building, I'm not arguing against. I am arguing against the extension of that SDL into the entertainment district that I participate in. That is what I'm asking. We can say we need food, and if you recall back just a week, Chadwick stood up here and talked for 95% of his time about the food options. This isn't about food, this is about alcohol, all right? So it is stopping that connection. A compromise would be to not sell alcohol out the windows, and I'm asking you to make that compromise, okay? A compromise would be that their alcohol can stay in their SDL area because they have the right to have an SDL area and not enter the entertainment license area. They could operate, they could be this, they could offer food out the windows because food can flow anywhere. Their alcohol could stay inside. All of those things are good. Another compromise would be limited time. And I'll get to that here in a minute. I only have about a minute left. So before my 5 minutes are up, let me get into numbers here. And I would ask Hero what percentage of their sales are food and what percentage are alcohol. That would be interesting. I'm going to produce for you 3 things. This I'm keeping to myself. These are my actual sales. The red area you see there is my peak from last year. When they rent the area, I reduce my staff by 25%. I can increase all these numbers by 25 to 30% just by staffing. It comes down to a point where you are just standing in line, and the more points of sale you have, the quicker you go. When I compare my heat map against my stated peak at my staffing levels, that remains my only peak. The orange is when we got within 80 to 90% of the peak. The yellow is when we broke 60%. The vast majority is green. If I wouldn't have cut my staff by 25%, this is my heat map. We never even hit orange. We never even come close to our peak of what we are capable of doing. When they come in and sell, this is what they're taking. This is the number that results in greater than $100,000 in losses. And guys, I could probably get this number well above $100,000. I'm just telling you, I am certain that it is above $100,000 in just looking at the percentage of what we do. There are not lines at Longwells, okay? There were for 4 hours during Oklahoma last year, and I will admit that there were lines for 4 hours, okay, during the biggest games of the year. So if we wanted to choose during the game of the home opener and during the game of Michigan, we will have lines. But that'll be 8 hours. I should not sacrifice all the other times that I will not be at peak because Hero wants to come in and sign for 8 or 9 days and rent and be in the SDL, okay? If you want me to go into the redevelopment agreement, into any other of the state statutes that I feel protect us, I would be happy to do that. I am well over my time, and I appreciate you giving me an extra minute there. This is a very trying and emotional issue for me.
Thank you, Mr. Marsh.
Okay.
Anyone else to speak on this application?
I have a question for Mr. Marsh, if I may.
Oh, please, go ahead.
Mr. Marsh, thanks for coming forward, and again, to echo what you said, this is a little surprising. Usually, you're promoting more. I'm not an expert in this area, but I've been trying to allow the market to do what the market does in the market. The market is in business itself, competition and advertising.
Yes.
What am I missing here in this?
So
in letting the market do what it does?
Because in this environment, we pay a great price in the rail yard, okay? This was supposed to be an entertainment district with this free flow of alcohol, with all these activities and all these things. And the same people who have prohibited us from expanding and having events. I was just outside trying to talk to them about putting a stage out there on September 29th and 30th, and I keep getting the runaround or deflections on it, are coming in when we're busy. The whole reason we did this, there was the redevelopment agreement says that we're not supposed to just sell alcohol. All the public market is doing is selling alcohol. Now, I'm sure he's going to get up here and say he has food sales, and he can talk about all the different types of food, and Heroes Food is wonderful. And selling food in the public market, I would never, ever say don't do. All right? We do need food options. When they come in and their sole focus is on alcohol, and I say their sole focus, the vast, vast majority. If you were to ask Chadwick what percentage of his sales last year were, just a simple question, was it 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, 90-10? You'd be startled and find out that this is all about the sale of alcohol during those peak moments where we would be experiencing our peak of the year. They are literally carving it away. And we are talking tens of thousands of dollars every single day that it happens. And we are the ones who feel we experience the brunt. I literally downsize if they're closed. They are open 9 days. They won't be open tomorrow night. We'll be at full capacity for a country concert. If they were open, we would cut our staff by 25 to 30% tomorrow night if they were open. They're open on Wednesday, we have cut our staff if you approve this, okay? They're not open on Thursday, we're back to full staff. When they're there, we cut our staff and lose our revenues because what they're coming in is doing it. And it is not letting the market decide, it is the concept of the entertainment district. We signed up to be in an entertainment district. We are letting someone else, and there's a state statute out there that says no outsiders. I would proffer this position. If you need a one-day lease, you're an outsider. If they signed an annual lease and they opened up Hero East, I wouldn't be standing before you. They're paying the price of being in the rail yard. The rail yard is the place to be on game days, for country music concerts, for most PBA events. But coming in on just those days and eating and harvesting that we have paid for, and it really does come down to that concept. And you guys are in the middle of this because you're the ones who created the entertainment district. You're the ones who gave us all of these capabilities of overlapping liquor licenses. But how many times have you asked me if I have their signature to go into the street? Now, they can come literally onto my south patio with their alcohol. All right? And guys, if they did this from across the street, I wouldn't be saying anything. Their alcohol that is sold from their C-Class license into their entertainment district that we have joined via an SDL, I'm all for that. But to act like we need this year you've approved SDLs. They will be selling alcohol in the street this year. They didn't do that last year because we did not have SDLs. Okay? We will have a beer tent on the northwest corner of our property. We did not have that. There will be additional points of sale. Mellow Mushroom will be selling outside of their doors. All of those are, and that's all before this. So between the 3 additional things, I don't know if there's 6 or 10 additional points of sale that'll be. It just depends on how big each of our beer tents or our concession stands are. I believe Mellow's more focused on pizza, but they still will be selling alcohol out there. And that's what it is. And guys, in preparation for the lawsuit that I referred to earlier, I took measurements every hour, okay? 80% of the time, the wait was well under 10 minutes, okay? 50% of the time, it was under 2 minutes, okay? This is just, it's crazy to think that we need more beers being sold in the public market or in the rail yard. It is, with the 10 additional point of sales in the street, with us all operating, and we all get better at it. Every year, our efficiency ratings go up. Okay, we get better at doing what we do, and we believe we're pretty good at it. All right, you do not wait for a beer at Longwell's unless Oklahoma's coming to town. I would proffer that might extend to Michigan this year. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marsh. Anyone else wanting to speak on this application? Oh. If you don't mind.
Do you want him back?
No, you can stay right there. Just a moment, Councilman Duden.
Yeah, I think I need a question from the city attorney.
Can we take testimony
Can we take
first?
testimony first? Can we hold our question for just a
Yeah,
moment?
that's fine, yeah.
Okay, let's take testimony, and we'll get to
Yeah,
that.
that's fine.
To questions, and then we'll ask for the applicant to come
Thank
back. All right.
There's some validation to what, Brandon Acker, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
25. Yep.
Address 1313 Mockingbird Lane.
Yep. There's some validation, to what was said there, but at the end of the day, there are lines, and we've had plenty of times where, when there's a line out of Chick-fil-A going to the street, Chick-fil-A adds another drive-through line. You know what I mean? So cars are waiting half the time because there's 2 lanes for them to go through, and they can pump it out in the facility. The same kind of concept is happening here where no matter if it's a 20-person line or a 40-person line, you're pumping as hard as you can. But it's considering the 40th person in line and how long it takes them to get up there. So my point is, it's about a good guest experience. We are feasting. We're feasting hard on those days, and it's, a big part of why we're in there. I've always been a big advocate that there are 340 other days of the year that get more of my focus than game day is, because it's literally a field of dreams. You build it, they do come. So you need to put a lot of your time into worrying about the other days. But giving a good guest experience in the rail yard on game day is important to me, and I don't want to go on Twitter and see all these people putting us on blast because they had to wait too long. Because I'm in the business of the food experience and the drinking experience and meeting everybody's expectations, and so I don't want people to leave angry. So for me, having this available for people is a good thing. Questions?
Let's start with you, Councilman Duden, and then we'll.
I'm having a little trouble. Are you against what was just said?
I'm for it operating. I don't care if it's.
You don't care how many people come down there?
For these big games, I mean, we're even expanding the street, so we're going to be expecting 3,000 to 5,000 people. We need some avenues of people to get these things, so I'm in favor of it.
So you're in favor of more alcohol being dispensed down there?
I don't care if they're getting booze or food. I can't serve anybody. I do about 400 covers of food on a game day, and at those peak hours, people are waiting 40, 45 minutes. I can't handle it. We got food trucks coming down to help out with that aspect, but just general wait for anything down there is long.
Any other questions?
Does that cut into your business?
It's always been open, and I've never cared to look at the data on how it could, if that makes sense, because it's always operated. So I've never sat and tried to do the math on what it is now versus what it could be without it. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yes, so I can't answer that question with a yes or no. But I'm more worried about the guests. I'm already in an industry where we work very hard for very little. So as long as the people are happy, that's my game.
Councilman Bowers.
So just to be clear, you're Team Hero 88.
I am team rail yard with happy guests.
Right, I get that.
Yes.
Like, I mean, help me cut through this, because, you know, you're in favor of what he's trying to do.
I would be in favor of anyone doing this.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get to, because I'm hearing a lot
Yep.
of fluffy language. And
Fluffy language.
I'm too tired to understand.
It's one of those podium games where you can't name names.
Okay, so from what Eric Marsh was saying, do you think that there's any sort of validity to what he's saying, or do you think it's just kind of overblown?
We have the capacity to operate the rail yard, which is one of his points, is that we do have the capacity to operate the rail yard without it operating, but that is where I believe that we're going to run into the long wait times.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anything else?
I don't see any questions right now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Acker, for coming forward.
Yep.
Let's get some, if you don't mind, let's get some staff questions. I think that Councilman Duden and I probably have a question, and I see someone in the back of the room who also may be able to answer a question. All right.
Chris Connolly, Chief Assistant City Attorney.
Well, my question is there some legality about if you're renting and leasing down there, controlling some of that, that open common area versus having someone come in and poach, so to speak? That's my
They
understanding.
poach, I guess I don't know how you're defining that term, but no, there's nothing that prevents them from being
Anybody
able to
from
rent the
coming down
property. No.
But all they need is a special permit and they can
If they-
operate.
If they follow, right, that is correct.
I have a question, if you don't mind. Mr. Marsh talked a little bit about he made a distinction between the rail yard and the entertainment district, and I don't have that concept memorized in my head. And I know who makes up the rail yard, but I also know that the entertainment district crosses the street. And so could you...
It's a bigger area.
It's a bigger area. So could you describe the entertainment district? And if folks are in the entertainment district and paying into the entertainment district, does that give them access to the rail yard, or does that prohibit them from the rail yard?
That question I would not be able to answer without looking at it more closely. I do not spend a great deal of time on these applications, but I am generally familiar with what has been going on there. And I'm aware that there's not a prohibition on doing what they're trying to do. Okay. But in terms of how does the entertainment district as a bigger area interact directly or mechanically, the logistics of it, I don't have those details.
All right. Councilman Bowers, did you have a question?
If it's okay, at some point, whenever you think it's cool, I just had a question for Eric Marsh,
Okay.
at whatever time is appropriate for the flow of how you're running things.
All right. Let's, Councilman Weber, please.
Thank you. Sorry, and I'm still formulating this in my head. Can you speak, though, to, I think Mr. Marsh brought up the Class C licensing as a potential issue. Can you just speak to that real quick?
I'm not aware of any issues relating to the Class C liquor license. I think it's, as I understand it, they're entitled to operate it that way.
Okay, thank you.
All right, then let's have the applicant. No, actually, I want you to do a full rebuttal. So if you would like to ask a question of Mr. Marsh, Councilman Bowers, let's have Mr. Marsh come back.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Council. I know it's kind of inappropriate for me to go out of order and to ask for someone to come back up, so thanks for the indulgence. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I'm because I'm a little confused on a couple of different things. From what Hero 88 is like right across the street, right? So I mean, there's like the ice skating rink that's kind of, or what's, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Hero 88 is like right across the street from that, right?
Correct.
And so can you help me understand what you're talking about, the differences between like the entertainment district and what can you help me visualize that?
So there are two halves to the entertainment district. There's the rail yard half and what we call the canopy lofts half. Okay, so the rail yard is really comprised, well, not really, it is absolutely comprised of 300 North Canopy, which is where Gate is, where Jack and June used to be. Okay, it's that one building. Then there's that little alleyway that's there. On the other side of the alleyway is Gate 25's annex, the public market, and Longwell's. That is 350 North Canopy. Those two buildings and what we call the rail yard, the common area in the middle, is what we call collectively the rail yard. All right? Now, that's where the cube is. That's where everyone comes, congregates. That's where we've had Husker Day now for a decade. That's where the predominance of the sales take place. That's what it's all about. And so people are there, they're watching the game. You cannot see the cube from 60 to 70 to 80% of the street. You have to be standing on the east half of the sidewalk or in the rail yard to see the cube. We're all there to watch the game. Now, the game only lasts 3 to 4 hours, and I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's our busiest 3 to 4 hours. Okay? Even though the stadium fills up, so do we. And those are our peak hours, and those are the hours that if someone wanted to argue during those busiest couple of games a year where you hit the peak, and that's where I'm talking about doing it here. Now, when someone wants to talk about the customer experience, the only time there's a bad experience is during that peak. I'm not arguing against that. I would see that as a compromise of saying we do that. But to have someone selling, I mean, my capacity is I'm at 56% the hour before we kick off, then 71, then 66, 83, 88. For someone else to be there when I'm at half of my capacity at 56%, and before 56%, I'm just grabbing a random game day, the one before Oklahoma, so I'm not focused on
I
that.
want to stop you right there because that answers my question. You're saying too many numbers and it's going by way too fast for me.
Okay.
So you're angry essentially, or you're in opposition to Hero 88 coming into that shared space.
Yes, and on the basis that Hero does not have an entertainment license for that space. Just like I do not have one to go across the street, okay? I do not have that. And if I were to give up my Class C license, I would lose my entertainment license. I could not maintain one without the other. So we can say that, and I don't know what that, I am positive of that. I've asked that question. I cannot have an entertainment license without my Class C license. What Hero does not have is an entertainment license for what we are calling the public market. They have an entertainment license for their restaurant at 601R or whatever the address is of their restaurant, but they do not have an entertainment license for the public market. It is that entertainment license that allows you into the rail yard.
Okay, so from what I understand, our city attorney had said that he doesn't see an issue with that. So do you think it's just like a difference in understanding of the ordinance, or help me understand how like the city attorney says one thing, but your interpretation's another?
Because they're applying for an SDL to cover the entertainment license area. That's why. If you give them an SDL for the inside the building, which you have every right to give them and they have every right to ask for, I'd be here going, they can do that. They don't need an entertainment license to be in the rail yard because they're asking for an SDL to cover what their entertainment license should be, and I'm asking you not to do that. You have the right to do that. You're the city council, all right? Now, I would come back and remind you that what this does is it violates the intent of the RDA. There's a state statute that says no outsiders. It says you have to have an entertainment. There's a state statute that says you have to have an entertainment license, and if you gave me enough time to pull it up on my phone, I would do it. It was given to Johanse and Tanya last week. It was one of the reasons for the delay. They're not here to ask that. But my position is they don't have an entertainment license. They're asking you to cover the fact that they don't have an entertainment license. And what they're asking to do is cover my entertainment district license with an SDL. Once again, if it wasn't mine, I don't think I'd have a right to come over here and say no. But it is my entertainment license that they are trying to mirror my entertainment license with their SDL, and I'm asking you not to allow that to happen.
And you're also saying that one of the things that makes you feel like that it's not needed is because you timed the wait times for a person to get served.
As well as tracked our capacity and our ability to serve more. There isn't anyone in line for 80% of game days, the lines are less than 2 minutes long for game days. It is when the game is going on and when there's a peak, everyone wants to talk about, oh, I waited 20 minutes for a beer. Okay? Guys, I will tell you this because this occurred before the home opener last year. I checked every single hour. All I can do, I checked every single hour. You did not wait 15 minutes for a beer at Longwell's last year. You just did not do it. And she didn't swear me in today, but you can swear me in. You did not wait. You may wait somewhere else in the rail yard. You do not wait at Longwell's more than 15 minutes. Okay? Now, it doesn't mean I don't have one line longer than the other, but then we go over and say, go get in the short line. Walk around the corner. We have people there. Walk inside. We can serve you from inside. You do not wait 15 minutes to get a beer. And that is at absolute peak.
Okay. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Go ahead, Counselor.
Thank you. Just out of curiosity, how do you figure that wait time? I've been in the rail yard on a game day. I'm just curious of how you have calculated that 2-minute time.
For the majority of it, I was working from our cash window or manning our south door, standing in that area. You would go look at the last person in line, stop your watch, and then wait till you see them at the window.
Interesting. Thank you.
Right? And that is what you do.
Thank you.
Okay? I've offered people beers when they get up to the front to tell us how long they were in line. Okay? So they're going to be, you give someone a free beer, they'll give you the truth.
Okay.
All right?
Any other questions for Mr. Marsh? Thank you. I have one additional question for Attorney Connolly. Okay. Right now, our city ordinance allows SDLs to be applied for anyone who has a liquor license. Where can they hold an SDL? Can they rent space away from their primary liquor license?
I believe that is correct.
Okay. I've certainly seen, I know we have approved SDLs at the governor's mansion.
Correct.
And that does not have a permanent liquor license at the governor's mansion, and so businesses come there and host an event.
Correct.
All right. Does our entertainment district, our rail yard, now add another layer on top of that?
I'm not aware without having researched it, that there's a distinction that would prevent the SDL from being used in the rail yard area like that for that purpose.
It is unfortunate that we're missing the attorneys who have looked deeply at this.
And I would say that they have, my understanding is they have reviewed this. They would have reviewed this in preparation for this hearing.
Yeah.
I've been made aware of no issues concerning this as I was coming in here. I didn't know I'd be here till late this afternoon, but having said that, I was not made aware that there was going to be any issue with this.
Okay.
So
All right.
I am confident that they have reviewed it and feel that there's no legal concerns there.
All right. Thank you. I don't have any other questions for Mr. Connolly.
I do.
All right, Mr. Show.
Madam Chair, thank you.
Counselor.
Mr. Connolly, I'm a little confused about this. I don't do liquor licenses personally, but we get to see them, and SDL specifically. Is the state liquor commission involved with issuing SDLs? Do they have to get approval from them also? Or is it, I know
believe
there's
the-
some level of approval, but I'm not sure if this is covered by that or not.
I think I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you,
Yes,
but
I understand.
obviously the city needs to.
Okay.
But I'm
I
sorry.
was trying to make eye contact with
I've been trying to make eye
Investigator
contact with
Parker.
Mr. Parker too.
And I apologize for
It's
not
okay,
having
no.
that information.
Mr. Task, can you help me
Yes.
with my question?
I believe so. I think Mr. Conley is right on track. My understanding, Rick Tass, City Attorney's Office, I help with the Special Events Committee, so I get some of the alcohol and liquor license. Ms. Tanya Peters is, of course, the expert. When an establishment applies for a liquor license, they do so through the state, but then it must be approved by the local jurisdiction.
That's the license.
That's the license. And an SDL is a special designated license where they want to step outside of their normal footprint that they sell from, whether it be their restaurant, any area. And they apply for an SDL to have that same license somewhere else. governor's mansion, street, and then the state looks to the local jurisdiction for approval. So that is how it ends up in front of council.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
Mr. Marsh suggested that we were in violation of a state law by doing this. He suggested that.
My understanding is that Hero 88 does have a Class C license, and that would allow them the ability to have an SDL in an area they otherwise could that's approved by the city. My understanding of the current situation, as Mr. Conley noted, is that area in the rail yard is able to be given out to somebody for an SDL. As I understand, and I would correct myself if I find out I'm wrong later, but you could have a restaurant at 84th and Holdridge have an SDL down in the rail yard if the state were to allow it and the city council were to also allow it.
Thank you, Mr. Test. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I have some questions.
All right, Counselor Duden.
How many people can overlap then? Because obviously you can't have everybody in town saying that they want to go down the rail yard and get a special SDL, and the people that actually pay rent down there that support that area all the time have to kind of fight that off type of thing. It just doesn't seem quite fair.
That's a good question, Councilman Duden. I do know that in past times when we have allowed an SDL and a special event permit for the street that encompasses the rail yard, like the area between Hero and Gate 25 and Mr. Marsh's establishment, you will have multiple establishments that can serve alcohol. And there are some rules that relate to that, as in, for example, the cups have to be labeled so they're aware of where they were purchased. So I do believe you can have multiple SDLs of multiple establishments in the same area. The exact numbers, I'm not specifically aware, but we could get that and get back to you.
We actually have a couple of overlapping SDLs coming up later in the agenda.
I'm just not sure we have enough information, especially as it pertains to the state law.
What information would be helpful? I think we
Kinda
need
like
to gather
hear
it, yeah.
What is in conflict here between what the city's doing and what the state permits?
Well, I'm not an attorney, so I probably shouldn't speak. But, we do this on a pretty regular basis, authorize SDLs, and I don't believe that the city is in conflict with state law. Every time we say yes to an SDL, which is 2 or 3 times a week, this is a normal thing. I think what's at issue here is individual businesses operating in close proximity to each other.
And I believe that the council has the option, I mean, it has its options to do there as it believes it should be done. But in terms of whether or not it can be done, I think the answer appears to be yes.
I would concur with Mr. Conley. As we noted, Ms. Tanya Peters of our office is the expert in this, and if there was some conflict, I'd like to believe that she would have made us aware, or she would have been here personally if there was any chance of there being a legal issue. So her absence at least gives me confidence to support my boss, Mr. Conley, in his position.
Thank you, Mr.
You're supposed to do that.
Nicely put. All right. Thank you very much. If we have no other questions for legal staff, I'm going to ask the applicant to come up for a rebuttal.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. In regards to Mr. Marsh's comments about us being an outsider, we've been one of the first. Gate 25 is celebrating their, I believe, anniversary on Wednesday of 10 years, and we are the second celebrating the first week of September for 10 years as well. We're not an outsider. We've always held a Class E license. We've always held a Class C license as well down there. As stated before, we pay the same per square footage rent for 10 years, or I should say special cam, into the rail yard to cover their janitorial and their security for all of these events for 10 years. which we haven't capitalized on any of that revenue. We've looked for avenues for the last 10 years to try and do that, but the public market's been occupied. We've asked if we could go in and set something up in the rail yard. We haven't gone that far to actually try and do that, but the public market space came available. Talked to the landlords. We are paying a good amount to them as far as dollars to take that space only for 9 days. So we are a part of that area. Our entertainment license covers that entire area. I believe it's that entire couple blocks that it's encompassed as the entertainment area. That's what allows us tomorrow. Thankfully, you approved our street closure for the concert tomorrow. That entertainment license allows us to automatically serve into the rail yard as Hero. We don't have to apply for a separate license for the rail yard specifically, just for the street because it's a public property. So the street is just essentially what separates those two pieces of the entertainment district, essentially. So when we close the street, it becomes one whole. So we carry all of that stuff. Yes, we do serve alcohol. That's part of that. But we do have a quarter of that space that we dedicate to food service. We have a large extent of food that we try and sell, and that's part of the time of a game day that's actually busier than the bars because everybody's trying to eat. And there is a need down there. I'm not here to have arguments or go out wits with other businesses, but there are businesses that don't serve food anymore, or they try and outsource it because they want to focus on just selling alcohol. We try and do a little bit of both. But yes, I'm not going to lie, it is about selling alcohol. That's game day. That's what the business is about. But we make it so that we focus on a little bit more than that as well. And we spend a lot of money to do that. We bring in equipment, warming equipment. We purchased new equipment this year as well. So we put investment into it. We make sure that it's operated efficiently. We've also documented, and there are lines every game, except for the last game when it was 25 degrees and nobody was outside. So that was a tough one. But there are lines every game, and for a lot of that day. But like I said, we've documented, yes, we are in litigation with Mr. Marsh because we did take that space over last year and he didn't like it. So we did document that kind of stuff. And we feel there is a continual need to have that, as Brandon Eckers said, that it's about the guest experience down there. If they have to wait too long, they leave. So yes, we're trying to do what we can to be a part of the rail yard since we've been a part of the entertainment district for 10 years. So, and I've been in touch with Tanya Peters over this past couple weeks. We've exchanged emails. Our lawyers have been in contact with her as well. We've got everything as far as, I'm not going to speak for her, but she hasn't raised anything to us that we need to, so.
All right. Councilman Bowers?
Thanks. You followed all the health regulations. Yep. How long have you been there for?
Hero has been for 10 years.
Been there for 10 years?
First week of September.
And then when COVID was happening, you were able to survive that without a lot of controversy or drama or anything?
Yes.
So you have a history of following ordinances and statutes and whatnot. So
100%.
It's not like you have a past history of breaking the law in order to get a license. So so a reasonable person could infer that you probably have done your homework on this.
Yes, we try and follow what you ask, what the state asks, the Liquor Commission asks. Like I said, I reach out to Tanya Peters a lot to see her opinion. I've worked close with your city clerk's office this past couple weeks, which they're amazing and have done such a great job. So yeah, we try and make sure that we're doing the things the way we should be doing them. Correct.
Thanks.
Very well.
All right. Unless someone else comes forward to ask from this dais, comes forward to ask another question, we'll move on to the next item.
Thank you for your time. Good
Thank
evening.
you, Mr. Fisher.
I'll be calling item 4L, application of Friends Family LLC doing business as Hero 88 for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 160 feet by 69 feet at 350 Canopy Street on August 30th, 2023 from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m., from September 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m., October 21st and 28th from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m., and November 11th and 24th from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. I'll also read item 4M to the record.
Please.
Application of Friends Family LLC doing business as Hero 88 doing business as Hero 88 for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 308 feet by 78 feet and 82 feet by 208 feet at Canopy Street from R to Q Street and R Street from Canopy to 7th Street on August 30th from 1 p.m. to 12 a.m., September 9th from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m., September 16th from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., and September 23rd from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m.
Okay.
Hello.
Mr. Fisher?
I'm back. We are withdrawing these two items. It was just a lot of the technicalities that we were trying to get worked out with the licensing and the SDLs and all that. We just wanted to make sure everything was correct and on time. So we're trying to clean everything up to make sure if it's appropriate for the council.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right. Wow, we raced through those two items. Let's move on to the next.
Item 4N is application of Homegrown Industries doing business as Mellow Mushroom for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 300 feet by 74 feet and 208 feet by 52.5 feet at Canopy Street from R to Q Street and R Street from Canopy to 7th Street on September 9th from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. and September 16th from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. and September 23rd from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m.
Is anyone here from Mellow Mushroom? All right, we'll move on.
Item 4O, thank you. Application of the Bar at the Yard LLC doing business as Longwells for a special designated licenses to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 300 feet by 74 feet and 208 feet by 52.5 feet at Canopy Street from R to Q Street and R Street from Canopy to 7th Street on September 9th from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m., September 16th from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Maybe a little more levity on this one, guys. Eric Marsh, Longwells, 350 North Canopy Street. This is the next steps of the default map that we've all agreed to. One for the Colorado Watch Party / Morgan Wallen. That's why it's called the Daily Double on the special event app for those of you that read it, because there's two things going on that day and we're gonna kill it for both of them. Hoping we see our second football victory on that morning. So, and then the next week is the home opener, which is a night game in Memorial Stadium. So we, once again, expanding the footprint, moving out, creating an actual entertainment district, having them come. We have the same footprint for Wednesday, and we have finally started getting policemen to sign up for those shifts. So keep our fingers crossed as we move forward towards Wednesday from here. All right. Does anyone have any questions on this item? A little less tense on this one.
All right, I see no questions.
Okay.
Mr. Marsh, I think you're good. All right. Anyone else have any comments or would like to testify? Then let's move on.
I'll be calling item 4P, application of Yard Investments LLC doing business as Gate 25 for special designated licenses to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 308 feet by 74 feet at Canopy Street from R to Q Street and R Street from Canopy to 7th Street on September 9th, 16th, and 23rd from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m.
Welcome back, Mr. Ecker.
Happy to be here. What he said, do we have any questions?
I see no questions.
Let's do this thing.
All right.
I like it.
Thank you. Anyone else like to testify? Madam Clerk.
Item 4Q is application of the Bar at the Yard LLC doing business as Longwells for a special designated license to cover an indoor area measuring approximately 78 feet by 50 feet and an outdoor area measuring approximately 160 feet by 69 feet at 350 Canopy Street on September 9th from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m.
Again, Mr. Marsh, welcome.
Eric Marsh, Longwells, 350 North Canopy Street. All right, we've withdrawn this item. We have withdrawn this item.
All right. Well, thank you. All right. All right, Madam Clerk.
Item 4R is application of NMH Group LLC doing business as HF Crave for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 85 feet by 65 feet at 4800 Holdridge Street, Suite 100 on September 8th from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Is the applicant present? Well, this seems to be the evening of complicated liquor licenses or applications. Investigator Parker, would you mind? In conversations earlier this afternoon with the city clerk, found out that we don't have an application, a completed application for this SDL.
Yes, Investigator Parker, Lincoln Police Department, 575 South 10th Street. It is my understanding that they are going to withdraw this due to some timing issues with football and so on and so forth. It's my understanding that they're going to withdraw this.
Okay. Well, thank you. That clears that up.
You're welcome.
Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Shob, Counselor Shob?
Hi, Madam Chair. Mr. Parker, thanks for coming forward. Mr. Conley, you might want to step up to the dais, too. Mr. Parker, I appreciate you, and you are a person I admire and respect, but you're saying that they are saying that they're going to withdraw. They haven't actually withdrawn anything yet.
Right.
So they may change their mind. Anything could happen between now and when. Mr. Connolly, we have to take action on this today. Do we delay? Do we withdraw? Do we approve and then get withdrawn? Can you suggest an action for me?
Yeah, it's hard to say, obviously, because you do have all the options. But at the same time, if somebody doesn't want to be here to support their application, I'm not sure the council should feel obligated to approve it or even extend it. That's up to the council.
Yeah. So if, again, trying to make sure that we're legally, I don't feel comfortable making a motion to withdraw on their behalf. We could deny.
Could deny, correct.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be an effective method of dealing with this, addressing this issue.
Correct.
Am I off base on that?
No. Yeah, I think if somebody doesn't want to be here to say why they want to do this, then I see no reason for the council to delay it and hang on to it, which would only cause further problems anyway. And so I don't see any problem with denying it because they're not here, and we would run out of time before they could get back and do something with it.
Do you see a legal problem with us withdrawing it?
Well, I don't know that I don't know that the council can withdraw it. I think their only action is either to approve, delay, or deny it.
I would say that this is probably, because to my understanding, at least I don't remember ever seeing an SDL, so they probably aren't as well versed as the rail yard, so on and so forth with that. Certainly out of sequence, but from my understanding, that is what they had wanted. However, they have not actually done that, and that conversation occurred last week, so things could have changed.
I appreciate the advice from both of you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Can I ask a question? Because I'd heard earlier today that their application was not completed, and we don't have a completed application in front of us, and that the fire inspector had pulled it looking for answers to some questions. So, Madam Clerk, do we have an application in the system for this SDL?
At this time, we do not, since our investigator had returned the application. The applicant would need to resubmit the application for us to pull the application itself and also review.
With that being the circumstance, I think I have a little bit of a problem leaving open the option of approval without having an application, but I certainly, I think, understand the quirkiness of withdrawal.
Correct. I don't see withdrawal as an option for the council.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I agree with that. Yeah.
All right. We only have a couple more liquor applications tonight, so let's keep going.
Yeah, a lot of thirsty people.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please proceed to the next application?
Item 4S is application Nebraska Hospitality Association for a special designated license to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 5,902 feet by 1,476 feet at Hillcrest Country Club at 9401 O Street on September 11th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Hi, thank you. I'm Zoe Olson. I'm the Executive Director of the Nebraska Hospitality Association. We used to be known as the Nebraska Restaurant Association, that the hotels joined with us, so we renamed. And our address is 5100 North 27th Street, Suite A2. And we do 2 fundraisers a year for our association and for our foundation. This is one of many we do for our foundation because we support educational programs in the schools, and then we give out scholarships, about at least $10,000 in scholarships every year. So this is one of our fundraisers for that. And we have a golf tournament. So far we've had great weather every year, so we're hoping that the 11th is going to be great as well. And this is just so our distributors can donate some alcohol for us to give out instead of us spending our money to do it, and helps us make more money, raise more funds.
Right.
That's it.
Any questions?
And if you want to come play golf, we have a few open spots. So.
Thank you for the gracious invitation.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to testify on this application? Madam Clerk.
Item 4T is application of Yin Family LLC, doing business as Hero 88 for a special designated licenses to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 208 feet by 82 feet and 308 feet by 74 feet at Canopy Street from R to Q Street and R Street from Canopy to 7th Street on September 9th from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m., September 16th from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., and September 23rd from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m.
Hello again, Chadwick Fisher, 5950 Opus Circle. I guess it's only fitting that I finish this out. Same as Longwell's, Gate, and Mellow applications for these events. So if you have any questions, I could answer.
Are there any questions? Is there anyone else who'd like to testify?
Appreciate your time this
Mr.
evening. Thank
Fisher,
you.
good night. All right.
Madam Chair, seeing no one else coming forward, we're going to do 3 things here.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Number 1, I make a motion to deny application 4R or 23R-400.
Okay.
Second. Do you want that all together, or?
Yes. We'll take a second.
Second.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carlson. Madam Clerk.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Madam Chair, at the request of the applicants, I'd like to make a motion to withdraw items 4L, 4M, and 4Q.
So moved. Carlson, second.
Okay. Weber,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yeah.
Oops.
Sorry. Motion carried 6-0.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move approval of items 4A through 4K and 4N, 4O, 4P, 4S, and 4T.
Before we get a second, I'm out of order on parliamentary procedure. I think we have a motion to amend on 4K. Would you take a friendly suggestion to?
So we'd like 4K out of that?
Yes, please.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve, no, let's just deal with 4K by itself.
Okay.
Amend it.
Yes, please.
I'd like to make a motion to amend item 4K.
A second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. All right.
I,
And the motion to amend,
yeah, yes.
Amended to what?
Yes.
we have a motion to amend that came to us this afternoon to correct the dimensions of
Yes.
the indoor space.
Words. It looks like this motion will better define the area that we're granting the SDL to.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking that motion to amend. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank
This
you.
will actually serve as a substitute resolution for that one.
Okay.
So after this vote, it can become part of the greater approval, all right?
You're taking this on its own, is that?
Yes, it's on its own.
Yes. All right. Thank you for substituting that. Are there any questions what we're going to do now?
What's the difference in the areas?
A measurement.
Do you need this back?
Yeah, I didn't memorize.
designated outside area covering area measuring approximately 160 feet by 69 feet, and an indoor area measuring 78 feet by 50 feet at 350 Canopy Street.
Oh, okay, I see, yeah.
you.
Makes sense. It's missing.
Okay. I think we're ready for the vote.
Okay. Voting on the motion to amend, Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes. And the main motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion of approval, items 4A through amended 4K, and additionally, items 4N, 4O, 4P, 4S, and 4T.
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Duden.
All right.
I felt naked there for a second.
Like the suspense.
Yes, it was.
Madam Clerk?
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you.
You have a break now?
You need a blue pen? All right. All right. Go ahead.
That concludes section 4, our liquor resolutions. We'll move on to section 5, public hearing resolutions. Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for August 1st through 15th of 2023.
Is there anyone here who'd like to speak on this item, claims against the city? 5A. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak on this item? Not seeing any? Let's proceed.
We can now vote on that item. Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for August 1st through the 15th of 2023, introduced by Washington.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Job?
Weber,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Okay, that concludes section 5 of our agenda. We shall move on to section 6, our public hearing ordinances, second reading and related resolutions. I'll call item 6A. Change of zone 23055, application of H&K 4718 Cooper LLC for a change of zone from R6 Residential District to B3 Commercial District on property generally located at 4718 Cooper Avenue.
All right. Would the applicant?
Well, do I just set that down?
Thank you. It'll turn on in a moment.
I'm Herb Reese at 5417 South 62nd Street. Too many addresses.
And I'm Katie Reese,
The boss.
5417 South 62nd as well. So we took this to the Planning Commission to change the zoning from a R6 to a B3. The property right here, 4718 Cooper Avenue, is where we bought it 20 years ago with the intention, the sole intention, of moving our office there. We own Reese Construction. Now, like so many businesses, small businesses, you start in the home, and then as you grow, you need more space, you need employees to be out of your house. So that's why we bought the property. Bonus to the property, the basement was already finished it was a 2-bedroom apartment with private entry and an attached garage. So that was kind of the bonus to this whole situation. Now, you can tell this is 48th Street right along here. So up here, that's all Union College. Everybody knows 48th Street, how it's such a commercialized business. And, you know, the side streets now, you know, Prescott with the mill and all that, Cooper, it's all been commercialized. There's businesses all along there. We thought we needed to come into compliance with zoning and change it from residential to a B3 that allows us to run our office there, excuse me, and still have the apartment down below to lease. So why didn't we do this 20 years ago when we bought the property? Don't have a good answer. But, and, you know, I mean, in hindsight, it's like, he should have known, right? But now, as we're getting older and thinking that succession plan and, you know, if we do sell the business, then we want everything to run very smoothly without any hiccups. And the other thing that came to light just a couple months ago with all the property tax people running around, the assessors, I guess, they make house calls. I didn't know that. But they came to the office, and our office manager was there, and the assessor or the officer, I don't know what their title is, said, "You can't run a business out of here. This is a home." And so, ding, the light bulb goes on, so we started this process. So we're hoping you see fit to give us the zoning change. Do you have any questions?
Are there, all right, let's start with Councilman Duden, and then we'll come to you.
Who's the CEO of this operation? It sounds like you're
She's
doing
the
all
boss.
speaking.
I show up.
Herb, are you the employee?
Yeah, I'm always been an employee.
Okay, I understand it now.
I married into it.
We wear different hats. Let's just say that.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Shob, Councilman,
Yes.
did you have a question?
I was gonna say, if Mr. Reese had something to say, is what I was motioning to,
Oh.
then I realized I was a little bit out of order now. You're running the fine meeting, I'll just keep you quiet over here.
All right. Yeah. Well, let me help you out. Did you have anything you'd like to add, Mr. Reese?
Well, it just, you know, it makes sense because the property, you know, Bella, that's right across the street from us, is a place, and then they have a special permit next to us. They tore down a house and put a parking lot. So
Right
we're
here.
we have a parking lot, our business, we're in line with Wayne's Body Shop.
Which is
and
here.
all that's all business there. The planning commission, it didn't have any problems with that. They said, yeah, this fits right into their plans of a business. And they said we could probably done this a long time ago, but I never took the effort to do it, so we decided we'll get it done. So,
But we want to get into compliance now with everything.
Yeah, no, I certainly,
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah.
Feedback from other neighbors, they were all supportive?
we had a couple of neighbors complained a little bit about traffic in there, saying that our trucks were damaging the alley in there. Well, our
this is the
alley.
alleyway.
Yeah, the only time my trucks are in there, my guys, we drive 250 vans, you know, just like a passenger van, and they only come in on a Wednesday. And my guys are not hardly there. We work residential remodeling. We're on job sites. We're not at our office. We're only there on Wednesday morning. And if you think about it, what's tearing up the road is the garbage trucks that back up and down that alley all the time. There's 3 or 4 different garbage trucks that go up there almost weekly, you know, in that alley. And it tears an alley up all the time. So it's not really our trucks doing the damage. It's more the garbage trucks that do that damage.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming forward and looking to correct the situation.
Have a good evening.
You too. Is there anyone else here to testify on this one? Yes, we can have staff. It's just fine. Planning Director, Mr. Carey.
David Carey, Director of Planning, 555 South 10th Street.
Mr. Carey, thank you for coming forward. We've heard the testimony from the applicant. We're moving from residential to business. Is this in compliance with the comprehensive plan? Is there anything that we should be concerned about?
We did take into consideration that this is a change of the current zoning, but it does meet the zoning pattern in the area, as was, the applicant did a good job already of kind of walking through that. So, but we did consider what the impact could be. I think the fact that there is that existing parking lot, that it's R6 to the west of this property, but it is under a special permit that is serving the other business on the block. I think that leading up to the 47th Street right-of-way is what, it makes sense that this block face could be all B3 or that R6 with a special permit for parking. So that's kind of where we landed on that, and that's why we were in support.
So it kind of backwards brings the whole block into compliance somewhat? Makes it more
Well,
of a
I think the
business
rest of the
district?
block, the rest of the block zoning-wise is fine already. And this one just kind of it effectively cleans it up to be representative of what's actually been happening there.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else to testify? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk.
I'll be calling item 6B, Street and Alley Vacation 23006, application of Clark Farms LLC to vacate the unused remnant of county right-of-way on property generally located at Northwest 40th and West Line Streets.
Good evening. My name is Ann Post. I'm an attorney with Rumbold Ludke Law Firm. I'm here today on behalf of the applicant Clark Farm LLC regarding this street and alley vacation. This is the area of the right-of-way was originally platted in 1870. It currently doesn't serve any right-of-way purpose. And this is the property owner recently acquired this property within the past, I believe, year. And so they're requesting to vacate this area really to clean up their property lines and to consolidate their property. So that's the purpose. Let me give you a little bit more of the procedure why we're here. This property is actually outside of city limits. So when you seek to vacate right-of-way that is outside city limits but still within the city's 3-mile extraterritorial jurisdiction, we go through 2 separate processes for vacating right-of-way. That starts with an application to the county, and we get to go to the county board where they speak with the county engineer to get a recommendation. We then put that process on hold when we come to the city to get the city's recommendation as to whether this right-of-way should be vacated or not. After seeking city approval, it then goes back to the county board where the county board actually takes the action where that right-of-way is vacated. So that is the very long process that gets us to vacation of this right-of-way. That's also why what you don't see in front of you is any price for the right-of-way or any comments regarding purchasing the right-of-way, because it actually is that county board action. What the spirit of that process is to make sure that even though this right-of-way is in the county, that it's not something that is going to be important or critical to the city's future growth, and the city gets a chance to weigh in before the decision is made to vacate. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions that you have.
Anyone? I have a question.
Yes.
One, thank you very much, Ms. Post, for explaining the process.
Yes.
Because I realized it was outside the city limits. I did kind of have a curiosity. Has the county given any indication what their recommendation would be?
The county has indicated that they have that they're agreeable to this. Generally, we have the I'm trying to recall whether we had the county engineers report back to this or not, but what I can tell you is that we're comfortable moving ahead with the city process before going to the county. We'd only do that if we were pretty comfortable with the answer would be. So we've had communications with the county. We've had no indication that there's any pushback. As you'll see in the report, that is, it was originally platted in 1870. I looked up historical maps up to as far as they go to 1957, I think, and there is at no point on those maps was this actually used as right-of-way. There is a driveway that is very close but doesn't quite track along this, and so that is where in no memory that I could find is where it was actually used as right-of-way.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the historical extent of your research, or the extent of your historical research. I'm impressed that a right-of-way was set aside
1870?
40 some 50 years ago, and wow. All right. Thank you.
And it's remained to this day. So
we are
hopefully until the next county board meeting. Anyway, thank you. Do you have any other questions?
We have no questions.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to testify on this item? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk.
I'll be calling items 6C, D, and E together. Item 6C is Comprehensive Plan Amendment 23008, application of White Holdings LLC and Funds 52 LLC to amend the Lincoln Lancaster County 2050 Comprehensive Plan to amend the future land use plan for East Dominion Estates to expand the commercial area designation approximately 17.6 acres and reduce the urban residential area designation on property generally located at the northwest corner of 112th and O Streets. And the related annexation 23007, application of White Holdings LLC and Funds 51 LLC to annex approximately 11.82 acres, more or less, on the property generally located at the northwest corner of 112th and O Streets. And the related change of zone 23056, application of White Holdings LLC and Funds 51 LLC to change the zoning from R3 Residential District to R4 Residential District and from AG Agricultural District to R4 Residential District on property generally located at the northwest corner of 112th and O Streets.
Good evening, members of the City Council. Danae Kalkowski, 1128 Lincoln Mall, Suite 105, appearing tonight on behalf of the applicants, White Holdings LLC and Fund 51. They're the owner of about 78 acres that are located at that northwest corner of East O Street and 112th Street. So you have 112th Street on our east boundary and O on the south. Dominion Estates is a residential development to the north and to the west. Just a reminder, we were in here earlier this year, but this property is impacted by 2 gas pipelines. We've got a pipeline right along the north side of O Street and one on the west side of 112th. So we have some significant pipeline planning areas that impact this site. So earlier in February, the council approved a comprehensive plan amendment for this property, which is the area in red. So that was approved in February. That was about approximately 31 acres that was changed from a residential designation to commercial. We also did our first phase zoning and annexation of kind of the north area of the property that I kind of highlighted there. That was zoned R3 and annexed, anticipating that that might be the first phase of residential development for the site. Clients have had an opportunity to refine their plans and the applications, and so the applications we have before you today are to make some adjustments that they feel will help them more effectively use the property. So the developer wants to construct some townhomes, or there'll be single-family attached dwellings along the west side of the property. They'll provide a good transition. We have some single-family, we have some townhome, and then this was designated for multifamily use on the west. Feel like the townhomes would provide a good transitional use to commercial to the east. So we're in here today with a request for a change of zone to R4 for that area. Because they did this as a preliminary plat, we need that R4 zoning in order to be able to get the lot size appropriate for attached single family or townhome type dwelling. So most of it is changing AG to R4, but we have just a little corner here. The area we already had designated R3 would be changing that a little bit to R4 also. Annexing this area that's not been annexed, and that'll also be one of the earlier phases of development. Access will be taken back through existing access points to the adjacent residential. The other application then that we have before you is another adjustment on the comp plan. Because of the townhome and the residential, and as they started laying out the 2 access points to 112th, they'd like to expand the designation of commercial area for the property. So I think we're adding another maybe 17 acres of commercial to the designation. We're not zoning it at this time, but we want to have that designation in place that sort of puts these homeowners on notice of the potential commercial to the east. And they believe because of where the roadway accesses will be, this will allow us to have a more efficient use of the site, basically, with the comp plan. Once we have your approval, we'll be coming back in and amending the preliminary plat to show the townhome development and the removal of some of the residential area from the preliminary plat. When we were in February, we sort of talked about master planning the infrastructure for this area. There's really already sewer and pretty good water to the site. So the main really points of infrastructure are going to be 112th Street and the access points to 112th Street. The annexation agreement called for us to do this in a couple phases. We will be back talking about 112th Street and those access points as soon as we're ready to start doing the zoning of the commercial area. At that point, we'll do a traffic study that'll give us the information we need in order to talk about what sort of intersection improvements are needed and what North 112th Street needs to look like. We also obviously, to improve that, have a big intersection with O Street down there that's going to take some conversations with NDOT. And in fact, we're already starting those conversations. We have a meeting coming up here in a couple weeks to start the conversations with the city and NDOT. And NDOT will be, you can see here on this property, they took a large area of right-of-way from that property. They've already made the request to do the same thing on this property, so that's going to impact that southern area, some of that area that's in the pipeline planning area. I think that kind of gives you just a little description, just a little bit more fine tuning on what they're looking at for future development. This area is in the comp plan. You know, there's city services to the site. When you approve the applications in February, you already determined that it's appropriate to move this forward for urban development. This was approved 8-0 at Planning Commission. We did have a neighbor come and speak. They live on the east side, and I see that they're here again tonight, so they'll be able to tell you their concerns. I think one of the questions that they had at Planning Commission dealt with 112th Street, because there is the gas pipeline on the west side of 112th Street. There was some concern that maybe when we come in to do improvements, that roadway would need to be shifted to the east, closer to them. I did have that conversation with our engineers. The gas pipeline is right now 60 feet to the west of the center line, which would typically put it right on the edge of the right-of-way. So at this point, we wouldn't be aware of any reason why the road would shift to the east any closer to them. It should be able to stay within the right-of-way. There would maybe, as part of the design, be some grading or things that may need to be done, which you're not going to know until you actually do design, but we don't anticipate shifting that roadway over any closer to them. And I'd be happy to answer any questions now or after you hear all the testimony.
Councilman Duden.
Are we going to wait 20 years before we widen O Street then?
Well, that's a good question for the state, because I worked on the Waterford development, and we started that, I think, back in 2004. And the plans that the state showed us recently in talking about right-of-way are the same plans they showed us in 2004. So
we're at their mercy.
We're totally at their mercy on that.
Seems like on a lot of things lately.
Yeah. They control the right-of-way on that one, so.
All righty, thank you.
You bet.
All right. Any other questions from councilors? All righty. Would anyone else like to testify on this? Welcome.
Hi, Dan Davenport, 602 North 112th Street, representing the Davenport and Wettenkamp families. We do have some concerns, about the road. And thank you for mentioning that and looking into that since our last meeting. But we have concerns about the road, of course, water. Those sewer lines run right through our farm. We have concerns about where, additional sewer lines are going to be placed through our property, how that's going to work, and if they wait another 20 to 60 years before they widen O Street, we're okay with that. But we do have some concerns, or several concerns, with this development going in, which is just literally across the street. One of those roadways coming out is right in front of our house. So, we're also concerned with that. Whether there was only 2 exits coming out of that development, and one of them right there by the house. So we're concerned about that and additional traffic, and now being zoned even more commercial area. You know, those people with the new houses being built, you know, in the Dominion area, they're going to have a buffer of the townhomes on the north and on the west side of that. Our buffer is going to be the road that is going to even infringe upon us a little more. So we do have some concerns with this going forward.
Councilman Bowers.
I was reading the Planning Commission report, and it said that, I think when you came and testified the first time around, you mentioned the sewers, but then you also mentioned there was a concern about water detention and what would happen with stormwater runoff. Has that concern been alleviated, or is that still a concern that you have about water detention?
Oh, no, that's still a major concern. The water retention that the plan that they have now in the Dominion Estates to the west is not working. So the plan that they come up with, you know, we're at the bottom of the hill, and we all know water runs downhill. And when you're at the bottom of the hill, you're going to get it all. And so we have some major concerns with that, because that still is, that's our farm ground. That's our factory. That's how we make our money. So.
And just for my own knowledge, do you mind if I borrow your map real quick? I'm just kind of curious. I just kind of want to visualize.
Thank you, Danae.
You bet.
Where you live at.
Oh, the other map might be better for that question.
That overhead map.
Thanks, Danae.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, this area right here is our farm.
Okay.
Yeah, and we actually own 3 houses right there in that homestead.
Okay.
I don't know, you kind of zoomed out. Can we zoom in? I don't know.
Nope. Yep, it helps kind of visualize where you're at. So thanks so much. Okay, so kind of the biggest thing I'm hearing
Good
is
enough.
the stormwater, the detention, and then kind of the future impact of like the sewer lines that would go through.
Yeah, right now that sewer line runs almost catty-corner through our property. And these sewer lines coming down from the west, they've got to hook on somewhere. And in order to do that, they're probably going to have to run through our property, which we don't want. You know, not everybody wants this development to go through, but you know, I guess I get it. I understand it, but we don't want it.
Thank you so much for coming out and getting your voice heard.
Yeah. Any other questions from councilors? I guess I have a question, and I'm not sure that it's a question for you. I think it's for staff. If transportation and utilities were here, I would ask it of them, but I'm going to ask Director Carey from Planning to come forward. And you may stick around a little close. You don't have to stand, but you may be. So I have a couple of questions. When in the process would Mr. Davenport be able to have his questions around retention and the sewer line and the water line? When would those questions or those issues be addressed?
I think I would put in there the access point question as well.
You're right. Yes, please, access.
So there will be, and actually Danae can answer this perhaps even better than me as far as like what her understanding is with her client for this project, but so there will be a grading and drainage plan put together that needs to be reviewed and approved before the project can be final platted and approved to move forward. So there's a real point in time where that will happen. So that information will be shared and made available at that point. There also needs to be a traffic study still done. So that'll inform access points, level of improvements that will be needed. So it is, that detailed information is to be developed still. So that is something that they still have to follow all those regulations and processes.
Okay. I certainly understand your concerns about, traffic shining their lights right into your windows and things like that. I just want to make certain that there's time for that to be addressed before things are finalized. Ms. Kukowski, do you have anything to add?
When we're all done,
Okay.
I hit it on rebuttal.
Okay, we'll get you on rebuttal. All right. Thank you. Have we asked your questions?
So far, yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shannon Butella. I live at 533 Half Moon Bay, and I'm totally speaking off the cuff because I was unaware of this tonight, but this would impact me as a resident of Waterford Estates. We have a beautiful, accessible home that we built, and we feel like we've been bombarded, not only with your plans for apartment buildings both to the east and west of our neighborhoods, but also with the governor's announcement to build a prison. We built our home for a sanctuary to live on a lake in a peaceful area that we hoped would prosper with residential development. And we are feeling closed in by the recent plans that are coming forth, not only just with, with the city, but also, beyond the city, which I know you had nothing to do with. But once again, I worry about light pollution. I live, like I said, on Half Moon Bay. I worry about access on Shorefront Drive on 104th Street. I worry that we have a gravel road on 112th, so this is going to push more traffic through 98th Street and O Street, which is already a problem for us. So I would hope that the City Council would take a look at what we in Northeast Lincoln are encountering right now in terms of some of the changes to the landscape of our neighborhood, and really think strongly about adding more things that might be a deterrent, because Northeast Lincoln is a gem and we want to keep it that way. So we would hope that, when you're looking at this plan, that you would really think about the residents who live there too, and how that's going to impact those of us who have made our lives and our homes and our families in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to testify on this item? Ms. Gakowski.
I think maybe just to hit a few points. So one of the plans that we will be amending is our preliminary plat, which will have the grading and drainage plan associated with the residential with it. And as we come forward with anything in the commercial, we'd be required to do a use permit or a preliminary plat that would also require a grading and drainage plan. I don't control what happens to the west of us on the Dominion property. That wasn't our project, but obviously they would have had to put together a drainage and grading plan. They haven't obviously fully developed their apartment site down there yet, so I don't know what the situation is, but I do know we've got some detention planned up to the north, and then also some down in I think the southwest corner. As far as 112th, we won't be doing any development of the commercial area on 112th without pavement, right? There won't be any gravel road that'll be used out here for the commercial area. So that's, and the reason, frankly, to phase it and talk about that later is so we have time to work with the NDOT and we have time to work with the city, because infrastructure financing is a challenge for us, right? How are we going to pay for this? What do we really need on 112th? And those are all going to be questions that'll be answered as we get more of the information and more of the details. We already identified, commercial as being appropriate all the way along 112th because of that pipeline planning area. We can't do residential, development within that pipeline planning area. And so that's why with the first comp plan amendment that's already been approved, we showed, commercial extending all the way up 112th Street. So more of these details will come. It's pretty typical that we would phase this and work on the more complex issues as we get more details. Right now, they're looking at commercial here because there's people interested, who live and work in this area of town. They're interested about having some contractor services type uses and some of those things. So As far as I know, right now, we're not looking at anything with any huge density as far as commercial because we're just too far out on the edge. But there are other businesses that need a commercial zone, in order to be in that area of town. So I think that's why the clients are reacting to what they're really seeing in the market for a need and a desire out here. Again, in February, the city kind of already decided it's appropriate for this area to develop in an urban fashion. And so right now we're just sort of tweaking, what that looks like. But I think the sewer line he talked about is, the major trunk sewer that comes down Stevens Creek. We get our sewer from here, and then I don't know if there's another extension that ultimately will come down, but Mr. Davenport's property is, highly impacted by floodway and floodplain through it. So that would be a city project that we don't really necessarily control. I'd be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
All right. Councilman Shope.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Kelsey, for coming forward. So we have two items. One's an annexation.
Yep.
And then one's a rezoning.
You have three items, actually.
items?
So
Okay.
annexation is the area in brown here that hasn't already been annexed. Change of zone would start from the top and go to the bottom. And then the comp plan amendment.
Okay, thank you. This is a little bit into the future. Right now, you talked, when you did your presentation, you said access to this would be to the north, and we're waiting for O Street in the state. Can I anticipate
Yep,
there'll be some access?
Yeah, two different, we're talking about some access for some of the single family.
Yes.
Right, there's sufficient, right now, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and another one down here, 6 potential access points to connecting neighborhoods. And so when the plan was approved, the preliminary plat was approved back in February, it was determined it was appropriate that we could do some single family or some residential development and take the access back through the existing roadways into the neighborhood. But when we start doing anything with the commercial, we have to come back in and address 112th Street. We can't get a building permit or zoning or anything for any of the commercial area without addressing 112th. And we have talked about potentially 2 access points over to 112th just based upon access management policy, which is what Mr. Davenport's talking about. So conceptually on the preliminary plat, there were a couple access points shown to 112th, but that's not set in stone at this point in
Anticipated my
time.
question perfectly. Thank you. Where are those I was
Sure.
going to ask? Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Councilman Bowers, please.
Hi. Just what kind of businesses do you think might potentially go out here? Bars, retail, storage units?
I think you may have some storage, you may have some contractor services, some people like a little bit of that flex space. We were just talking the other day about more almost like a Horizons business park where you have all these different kind of uses within the same area, but you're just way far out on the edge to do a lot of real retail. That doesn't mean there wouldn't be something maybe down on the corner, but it's not, we're not talking about a large shopping center on this area.
When you say contractor services, do you mean like Roto-Rooter or?
Or like the remodeling business, right? Somebody who wants to pull an overhead door but yet have office space with it, potentially. They're not necessarily manufacturing there, but they're storing materials that they take out on the job with them, that kind of thing.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments or questions? All right, thank you very much. Madam Clerk.
Is there anyone else that would like to testify on these items?
That was the
Oh, I'm sorry, that was her rebuttal. I apologize. That concludes our section 6 of our agenda. We shall move on to section 7, ordinances, third reading and related resolutions. Item 7A is approving the renewal of 1320 Peace West Wall Easement and Sidewalk Cafe Development and Operation Agreement between the City of Lincoln and 1320 P LLC for an additional 5-year term, introduced by Shobe.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Second, Weber. All right, Madam Clerk.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Section 8 is resolutions first readings, items 8A through 8F. And section 9 is our pending list, which is items 9A.
All right. Thank you very much. As we noted at the top of the agenda, tonight is a night with open public comment. And I see folks here, so I will assume that there will be people who are stepping forward for open public comment. You may speak on any item that is not on tonight's agenda or is not scheduled to be on agenda, and you have 5 minutes, regardless of the number of topics that you'd like to address. Please come forward.
Hello, my name is Chris Akins. I live at 2800 Docks Drive in Lincoln, more specifically Northeast Lincoln. And I, honestly, I was not planning on speaking tonight, but I thought there might be a few more people here, and since there aren't, I felt compelled to speak myself. I am here because I'm very concerned about Governor Pillen's announcement of the placement of the new prison. So my husband and I have lived in Northeast Lincoln our entire married life, which is 30 plus years, raised our kids in Northeast Lincoln, and worked really hard, bought our forever home on Docks Drive, which I don't know if you know that area, but that's just west of 84th and Adams. So from our back porch of our forever dream home, we're gonna see prison lights. And so I know that you guys did not have anything to do with it. I'm hoping you didn't even know about it, since we didn't know about it, and I read it in the paper one Monday morning. And to say I was shocked was an understatement. What I'm asking of you is that you encourage the mayor to move it. And I know she doesn't have total say, but at all. I know she doesn't have say. But I encourage you to encourage her to help us. We need help with this. I mean, this prison is adjacent to neighborhoods. My mom is gonna retire in Lincoln, and she was looking at townhomes in that area, and she's already said, you know what, we need to look, so she could be close to me. And she's already said, you know what, let's look in a different area, because I don't want to live next to a prison. So when people say that that isn't going to lower the value of the property in that area, they're wrong. They're just wrong. There's no other way to say it. So I'm just asking for help. We in Northeast Lincoln do not need a prison next door to a school or a housing area. I know that they looked at 70 locations. I don't know where the locations were. I've heard, I don't know if it's accurate, I've heard that one of the locations was just north of there, near the landfill. Now, in my mind, that would be a much better spot for it. I know that there are houses around there, but there aren't entire neighborhoods and schools in that area. So I'm just asking for help in encouraging our mayor to help us fight. That's why I'm here. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, thank you for your time. Oh, go ahead.
I just have a question, and I'm going to probably formally ask all the people from Northeast Lincoln that come and provide this question, because one of the things that I've kind of struggled with is when we talk about the prison in Northeast Lincoln, and you probably have heard me say this before if you've been to any of the homeowner stuff, is that if it goes in that location north of the landfill, it's still in Northeast Lincoln, but I do agree with you that it's in a better spot. So I think you already mentioned, but I want to hear it again from another Northeast Lincoln person. That spot would be more acceptable if it went to that 56 and Bluffs Road area north of the interstate where the landfill's at.
In my eyes, it makes more sense completely, because just for that reason. I know there are houses out there, and I know nobody wants a prison next to their house. But I just feel like in neighborhoods with schools right there, I think it's just a really bad spot. So yes, I do think it makes more sense. I think there are going to be fewer homeowners impacted in that area by quite a stretch.
And less growth based on the comprehensive plan and whatnot.
Absolutely.
The area that you're all living in is one of the fastest growing areas in Lincoln and Northeast Lincoln.
It is a fast growing area, and I know that, you know, to get to Omaha from my house, it takes 35, 40 minutes. I know that's one of the draws to Northeast Lincoln, and it's like Shannon said earlier, Northeast Lincoln is a gem. It really is. We've always lived there. We have never had any desire to live anywhere else in Lincoln. We love it, but it doesn't make sense to put a prison in a residential area.
I really appreciate you coming out. I mean, especially, you know, when folks don't have a history of getting their voice heard or coming out to provide public comment, it can be nervous and it can be nerve-wracking.
It is, and like I said, I didn't even plan on saying anything. I was just going to come and see what people were saying, and I've never been to one of these, so I thought it'll be kind of interesting to go. But then, you know, as I said here, I kind of thought, you know what, I'm here. I might as well say something, right?
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Martinez. I live at 9314 Garland Street, Lincoln, Nebraska 68505. I've been a resident of Northeast Lincoln for 34 years. I've been a small business owner running a daycare for 30 years. My husband is an immigrant who came here to fulfill his American dream. He has worked grueling construction jobs for the last 30 years. We are working class people. We have worked and saved our entire adult lives to build a new home. We never intended to build our home that we've worked so hard for next to a maximum security prison. We joined the hundreds of families in our area with concerns about not only safety, but the light pollution, sound pollution, and increased traffic that this prison site would create. The current roads in the vicinity cannot support such increase in traffic. There's been concern mentioned about the bridges in the area as well. The North 84th Street corridor has multiple fatal accidents with the current traffic. One fatality just occurred last week, another 2 months ago. This stretch of road cannot handle more traffic. It is not safe for Northeast Lincoln residents. This location will stunt the growth of Northeast Lincoln. We have approximately 1,200 homes east of 84th Street that have been built in the last decade between Village North, Harrison Heights, and Waterford subdivisions. I've seen one study that looks at property value lowering in homes near prison, but that is an outdated study, and the researcher himself even questions the validity of his study. And it studies housing divisions that were developed around prisons, unlike our situation of a prison being plopped right into our existing housing divisions. The site is 102nd and Adams on the western border, much closer to town than the 112th and Adams that we continue to hear. Village North subdivision extends to 96th Street, just a few blocks from the 102nd Street border. The light pollution alone would be intense. The Director of Corrections told Senator Clements that the light would be similar to street lights. I think we all know that that is not true. The residents of Tecumseh can testify to the immense light produced from the prison yard at night. We were hit with this like a ton of bricks, blindsided. This was thrust upon us with no warning. The citizens of Northeast Lincoln were never consulted or allowed to be part of any discussion about something of this magnitude coming to our neighborhood. We need our city and state government to work together to fix this, and we need it done quickly. Governor Pillen was quoted today on KLIN stating, "Time is of the essence." He also stated there is an alternate location north of the interstate near the landfill site that would work. It is our understanding there is only a purchase agreement currently at the 112th and Adams site, and it's not too late for a change of location to the landfill area. It is our hope that our elected city government represents the people of Northeast Lincoln and does their part to help change this travesty. We need our city and state governments to come together to fix this. There's still time to help us. I would also like to commend James Michael Bauer for his tireless commitment to represent the citizens of Northeast Lincoln. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for coming out. I think that you just embody what Northeast Lincoln's about, right? You're a strong woman, you're hardworking, and blunt, direct, and to the point, right? Because we don't have time to deal with, all the other stuff. Yeah, Benny's initials. I think you hit on a really, well, first before I go into that, I also want to say, when I think of folks in Northeast Lincoln, I think you're one of the strongest leaders that Northeast Lincoln has. And when you speak, people listen. And when you act, people follow your action and your lead. So one, thank you for your service to Northeast Lincoln. But two, your action in this, I think, is what's going to help get some resolution to fixing this issue. I appreciated what you said about the location actually being at 102nd Adams instead of 112th. That does make a huge difference. 102nd Adams is where the location starts, and 112th is where it ends. I also appreciate you saying, as also someone whose home is Northeast Lincoln, saying that out of the two locations, the landfill location is a much more preferable location than the location on Adams Street. We don't want it in Northeast Lincoln, but I appreciate you saying that the landfill is a better location. And I think out of anyone in Northeast Lincoln, you probably have the best pulse of what people think and what Northeast Lincoln needs. So thank you so much for getting your voice heard and being here on this.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez.
Both microphones are available for testimony, so if there is anyone else that would like to come and testify, you're more than welcome to come up to the second mic.
Evening.
Good evening. My name is Robert Way, 7205 Oxford Road, Lincoln, Nebraska. But my first family home was over in the Unite area. So I was born in Northeast Lincoln, even if I don't currently live there, to my chagrin. There are many factors here, and I'm not going to repeat them. But the question, I don't know, the council's very busy. They have a lot in front of them, so perhaps they haven't had a chance. The governor's response to citizen comments on this matter includes the following paragraph at the end. The facility's location, the proposed facility's location, makes it accessible to healthcare facilities, emergency services, and utilities that can support the facility. The size of the property is appropriate to such a facility and is large enough to allow for potential berms, trees, landscaping to screen this facility from the surrounding roadway network and adjacent properties. There's a couple things I'd like to talk to about that. There's a concept, and many of you are probably familiar, of the free rider. Somebody spends an enormous amount of energy and time and money, which they've taken from the citizens in the form of taxes, but those citizens trust them because they've been wise with that money. And there's a plan, and we even publish it, and it's a comprehensive plan. And Lincoln has grown. What I believe, but I can't prove yet, because this is a real difficult issue to wrap your head around, because they talked about that study that the governor cites here, the 2019 article about in social perspectives. Again, I don't believe that article addresses state prisons. I think I haven't been able to get our hands on a copy of it, but I think it's talking about local facilities. Local facilities are jails, and jails are usually where people wait to go to trial. So it makes sense that people who haven't been convicted of anything are still in the community. Prisons are for people who have been convicted of felonies. The state has decided that these people pose such a danger to society that they need to be removed. And by removed, I don't think most citizens think within sight of residential neighborhoods. Utah recently went through this thing, and I would encourage you all to look at what happened with their things. They wanted to, they had to do the same thing. They had to replace a very old state prison. And once they found a location which was acceptable to the citizens of Utah, it cost a lot more money because it was far off the interstate and far away. And as they thought it cost, again, I'm pulling this out of memory, not a thing. I think they thought it cost about $650 million. It ended up costing over $1 billion because they had to get these things which Lincoln has already provided: sewers, electrical, emergency services. Thought I'd been talking for long enough. Anyway, I don't want to keep you here all night. There is an idea inherent in this announcement and inherent in what I have heard, maybe I'm wrong, has been the state's relationship with the city, that we are the state, we're going to do what we want, and you're just going to take it. And while I personally not a fan of that, I think you might want to consider, what are they going to do next? Why does this stop here? We got I think we have 1,800 inmates in the state pen. This place is only supposed to house 1,500. If you allow the state to come in and take the resources which you've already shepherded for the city and use them to lower cost of state processes, and I'll tell you what will happen next, because I've watched this for a while. They will then do a press conference on how they lowered the cost of building the prison and how well they're stewarding the shit. Then they'll turn around and they'll complain about how high Lincoln taxes are. They're trying to take the resources which you've shepherded for a state project. And I find that personally very concerning, but I am out of time, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Way.
Good evening. I'm Warren Ryder, and I'm president of the Layton Homeowners Association. And I won't spend a lot of time because I think, Kathy, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but thank you. Yeah, you guys, I mean, you summed it up well. I live in Northeast Lincoln. I live on 2715 North 98th, and excellent point. I get tired of hearing about 112th because it's at 102nd, and that's, I'm off of 98th Street, and we have 14 homes in our association, and we all have 4, 5, 6 acres. I mean, it's a beautiful area. That's why we moved there, raised our family there. I've been there since 2010. Our kids went to the Waverly School District. We haven't mentioned that, affects Waverly. I mean, there's humongous growth, this direction, and you build a prison there, it's just gonna, kill it. And the school bus, goes right by there. There's the Villa Marie, the Catholic Center, for special needs kids, just right up 112th Street. Access to this site, I don't know if they're going to have to, pave 112th or expand it. And, Kathy mentioned the bridges. I live out there. I drive out there all the time. So I know what it's like. I mean, it's going to need some more infrastructure. And, like I mentioned, the development, like I say, it's Kathy mentioned it's a gem. I mean, it's beautiful out there. That's why we live there. The governor, talks about the prison, the current prison and how it was built around there. Well, drive by there and then drive, through our part of the city. I mean, it's all industrial around there. You don't see beautiful homes like we have out there. And, I also go up, by the dump. I'm constantly taking trees off my property up there, and I travel up there a lot. And, I understand, nobody wants it nobody wants a prison as a neighbor, but, it just doesn't make sense to pick this location where you affect thousands and thousands of people. And, there's, windmills up there, there's a dump, there's a power station, there's there are some homes around there, but to me, it's a much better site, and it makes a lot more sense. And I just hope that we can somehow maybe open that line of communication back up with the mayor and do something to maybe reconsider that as a site, because I think that makes a lot more sense. And it's not, I'm emotional about it because I live there, but it's not just that. It just, if I didn't live here, it just is seems like a better fit to me. And then, one of the governors, when they made that press release and he talked about, visitation from the families and the inmates' families, and I understand all that, but, you look at the numbers too, and, there's only, 5% of inmates that get visitors. I've had people that worked in prisons before that I know, and, here you're talking about that, and what are you saying about us Northeast Lincoln residents, how it's going to affect us. And then also, like I say, it's a wildlife area. There's actually a nature preserve there at 112th Street too. And, I'm a city kid, or a farm kid living in the city, but it's a beautiful area, and I don't know, I don't think a prison belongs out there. But these guys did a great job. I don't want to rehash what they said, but any questions or?
I think the only thing, first of all, thank you so much for coming out. And, again, as another Northeast Lincoln guy, I appreciate you coming out and getting your voice heard and, talking about the impact that the prison would have in your house and in your family. And you brought up a good point that I think kind of gets missed out. You talk about not only the growth of Lincoln, but also there's like a nature preserve out there, right? So between, economic reasons and environmental reasons all across the board, there's a really unique, strong coalition of people across the political spectrum, across issues and causes that are against not only against us going forward without public process, but also against the location. So thank you for bringing that up and making sure that point gets heard.
Yeah, I do appreciate all your efforts too, and everything you guys are doing. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryder. Sir?
My name is Jamie Beret, 3109 North 93rd Court. I'm also going to speak about the prison today. I've been a resident of Northeast Lincoln for about 10 years. I built our home, or had our home built, in the Prairie Village North neighborhood about 5 years ago. Again, it was, one of our dreams was to build a home. We live in a circle. Our kids love to go out and play, and we feel like it's a very safe neighborhood. With the prison, it's going to change everything, and I know from speaking to other neighborhood members, we are completely against having that prison 6 blocks from our neighborhood. I request from the City Council to reveal all the information, all the correspondence, emails that the city has had, whether it's through the mayor or other avenues to the state regarding this entire process, as well as open the communication up between the city and the state, whether that's directly through the mayor to the governor. I don't know how that would work, but we want there to be open communication. Today I had the privilege to speak to the governor on the phone and asked him directly, did you have any community input regarding this site selection? And it was immediately no. And I think that's absolutely horrible for having so-called representation. We did not have any representation regarding a prison that was going to be put 6 blocks from us. He referred to the fact that, there's a prison in Southwest Lincoln, and everything's built up around that so nicely. That's an industrial area, and honestly, those homes that did want to build in that area had the choice to build in that area. They didn't have their community built, and then all of a sudden, a prison built right in it or right next to it. Again, just like these people have said as well, it's going to be surrounded by a city park that's yet to be developed, prairie pines, a walking trail, and a neighborhood. It's a horrible location. And then additionally, we also learned today straight from the governor that there was, in fact, another location in North Lincoln, north of the interstate between 56th and 84th that the city owned. that the governor spoke to the mayor about, and apparently the mayor said no to that. I am all in favor of that location. It's by a dump, so there's not going to be much growth there, opposed to our location where that's where the city is expanding, northeast. With a prison, it's going to come to a standstill. There's still access to the interstate, so it can meet that demand. And again, the governor said today, he kind of contradicted himself. He said, we're respecting the city of keeping outside of the city, but my question is how is the state going to provide infrastructure for that size of a facility, whether it's power, whether it's emergency services, or even simple as, water and wastewater. I wouldn't anticipate a lagoon, as well as wells for that size of a facility. I would assume that they would want to at some point hook into the city and be annexed so they can have all the services of the city. And that would contradict again what he said today about staying outside of the city and respecting our mayor's wishes. I don't see that happening. I guess the biggest thing I ask is to publicize what the past history was, the communication between the mayor and the state, and to reopen those communications, to hear from residents, and to hear that I can guarantee you that the majority of the people in Northeast Lincoln would much prefer the location to be north of the interstate as opposed to in our backyards at 102nd Street, where it will deteriorate our community. Any questions?
Sorry, I just kind of assumed. So not only are you a resident in Northeast Lincoln, but you're also a firefighter paramedic for LFR, right?
I'm a firefighter. I'm a fire apparatus operator.
So not only are you a resident in Northeast Lincoln, but I mean, you've also been in like several homes in Northeast Lincoln in a way that most people have not been into. So you really have an in-depth knowledge of, what Northeast Lincoln needs and the community vibe of it. So I think what you say carries a lot of weight, right? As a first responder in Northeast Lincoln. So thanks so much for coming out and, and getting your voice heard. A lot of folks in Northeast Lincoln are very thankful. I know I'm very thankful. I mean, you've even been in my house and you've taken care of my mom. And so I'm eternally grateful for that. And you've served your community in Northeast Lincoln, and I think it's important that those in decision listen to public servants like yourself. So thanks so much for coming out, and thanks for all that you do for our community.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bray.
Hi there, I'm Shannon Butella, 533 Half Moon Bay. Again, I'm a Waterford resident, and I am here to stand in opposition of the prison that is projected to be a stone's throw away from our neighborhood. Once again, we too built our home in Northeast Lincoln. I actually grew up on 116th and Holdridge, 1621 Dixie Trail, just outside the city limits. Never in a million years did I think I'd live in a neighborhood 4 minutes from my 82-year-old parents. Now I'm worried for us, and I am worried for them. What this will do to our neighborhood is destroy our community. We have an area that is, or a site that is designated for exceptional children nearby. We have a nature conservatory. We have beautiful neighborhoods, and we have awesome community support. I'm a realtor. I sold 86 units in the last 2 years, so I see a lot of property. And I'm telling you that this week alone, we have been avoiding, not by my direction, but by my people that I serve, we have been avoiding the northeast sector of Lincoln because everyone is in fear of what is to happen in this area of the city. I was in a townhome on 89th Street just by Walmart on east of North 84th and by the Walmart. And the people that I was representing asked me, they're from Wahoo, and they asked me point blank, how far would this be from the new prison? And I said, it's going to be really close. We need to take a look at that map so you can make a decision. And they said, this is not for us. So I think we need to take that into consideration and look at the density, because I can tell you every zip code in the city of Lincoln by quadrant, by the where I serve my people. I can't tell you what the zip code of the dump is. I don't know that zip code because I don't serve anyone in that area. And so I'm telling you that we need to take a look at the areas of Lincoln where it is not densely populated. Northeast Lincoln has finally, when I grew up, I went to Waverly, but we were like the north side of O. I mean, we were tagged the north side of O. Waterford Estates is on the north side of O. We are finally removing that stigma of the north side of O. And the governor is slapping us in the face with this prison to be the north side of O. Now, I still don't agree with the north side of O being the site for our prison. I don't really want the prison anywhere near us. I don't want any people in a densely populated area to have to endure the criminals that may impact us, the light pollution that may impact us. However, I think there needs to be community discussion, and we need to get together with our leaders, and we do want to hear from our mayor to help understand this process and how we can come together to do the best thing for our community. If I look at the city and where the city planning is, I'm like, what's wrong with the southwest part of town? What's wrong with outside the city limits at all? There's a lot of areas along the interstate, if that's our reasons. There's a lot of areas that are not yet developed. And if they're gonna have to develop the utilities for one area, why can't it be further away? So if I have my druthers, I would say that yes, James Michael Bowers, yes, I would definitely prefer it to be near a landfill where I don't know the zip code, but I certainly think that this needs to be open discussion, and I completely and wholeheartedly agree with everyone that's spoken that the transparency of this has been absolutely horrifying, because there's been none. I want my parents, who are 82 years old, to be able to stay in their acreage and feel safe there. I want my son, who is completely wheelchair bound and completely dependent on other people. I want to know that we live in a neighborhood that's going to be secure and safe and prosperous for generations to come. I want to know that the people that I have represented and sold homes to in 68507 and 68505 and all of these zip codes, that they are going to love where they live because they are not fearing this place that is just a stone's throw away from them. And the light pollution alone is just, to me, enough reason to get it out of this area. And having that said, with a child who is an exceptional child, I don't want it going next to Villa Marie. Do you have any questions?
I would say I agree with you that we are finally just starting to make progress in getting rid of that stigma, north of O Street, and a lot of that has to do with the development that's happening in that area. And I agree 100% that it's going to be stunted if this prison goes in that portion. And I also agree the lack of transparency has been horrifying. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your experience as a realtor. I think that it's one thing for formal associations and politicians to say one thing, but when we talk about development, people buying homes and hearing about how people are going to be avoiding Northeast Lincoln, an area that we have fought so hard to remove stigma and to grow. Thank you for bringing us back down to earth on that.
Just this week, I had a client who they were deciding between a home around 98th and Pioneers and a Waterford home, and they said to me, we're so glad we didn't buy the Waterford house. I mean, that's true. And I mean, like Kathy, I haven't found any studies that support it, but the fact is there haven't been many studies to support it. So I hope that there's some consideration in just helping us have our voice heard before this goes to slate. And, I've had a lot of people say the deal is done. No, it hasn't been executed. I'm a realtor. I know that. There's a purchase agreement, but we still want to do what we can to stop this fight and to stop this from happening. So please help us.
Thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you very much.
Melinda Hind, 9230 Layton Avenue. I'm in the Homeowners Association with Warren. We've lived there since 2005. I was pregnant with my first daughter, 6 months pregnant, and now we want to move. We want to move. My children are going to be scared. They told me now I'll never stay home by myself again, Mom. I mean, as a mother, wanting to protect her children, I mean, this is not a good decision. It's being set right in the middle of these neighborhoods. And I didn't intend on talking tonight, but I'm a little disappointed with the amount of people that are actually here. So I felt like
I needed to say something. And I'm very nervous, as you can probably tell. As I said, I did not plan to speak at all. However, the governor, I listened to his radio station, the radio station today, and it was, there's no pushing him except for one other location that everyone has spoke to here today. I can tell you, I can stand in my backyard and right now and hear all of the things that go on at Lancaster Event Center. I can hear that noise. I can hear I can hear whatever music they're playing. I can clearly hear that music and what the words are in that music. I can't imagine what I'm going to hear with a prison less than a mile from my home. I've already driven it, and it is 102nd and 12. 102nd and not 100 and 112th. So it is much closer to 98th. And then just the infrastructure itself and the amount of traffic that we're going to have. It's already increased from Holdridge to Adams, and people drive 90 miles an hour on a gravel road in $90,000 vehicles. It's unbelievable. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when that prison? The other thing that I want to bring up is we're so worried about the fact that it's going to be easier for everyone to get to and from the prison. Then build it elsewhere. Build it closer to Omaha if we're so worried about their families getting to someone that's incarcerated and doesn't have any rights. I have rights. I'm a tax-paying citizen. Where are my rights? Where is it that my concern comes in? So I'm urging you guys to please help us encourage the mayor to have those conversations again and try to find a new place for this prison to be. So, thank you. Any questions?
Thank you so much for coming down and talking about, being so close to it and the day-to-day impact and getting your voice heard. I hear what you, I think sometimes people get nervous when they say, like, there's not a ton of people here, but Northeast Lincoln people, we're hard workers, and a lot of us are probably still at work right now, and we have families, and we don't have nannies that can take care of our kids, and we take as much overtime as we can get because we need to be able to make a living for our families. So I hear what you're saying, but let me tell you, I think every person that's spoken has been speaking from their heart. It's been a little segment of every part of the population, and I'm incredibly proud of Northeast Lincoln for taking part of the civic process, even from the first day that the announcement came up until today, and the fight's not over. So thank you.
Thank you, and we thank you very much for what you're doing to help us in this fight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hyde.
Thank you.
Anyone else coming forward?
I would like to take a moment of personal privilege, if that's okay, just to make a quick little statement, which is unusual, and I don't think anyone's ever taken a moment of personal privilege over the past 5 years. So I would appreciate just
not for open public comment. But
not during open public. Well, since everyone's kind of done, no one else is here to testify. This has been a lot of folks in Northeast Lincoln were frustrated and were angry and were disappointed. There's been a lack of transparency and a lack of accountability and a lack of process that has happened with this. There's been no community buy-in, no community conversation. In Lincoln, out through the council, we hear that a lot through projects that go up, but what we typically hear is that there hasn't been enough. The difference with this is there hasn't been any. And that's shameful and it's disturbing. And I'm so proud of Northeast Lincolnites standing up and demanding more out of their elected officials and out of the community process because they want to be involved and they want to be engaged. I really hope that we can continue the conversation through all levels of government and that we can talk about different sites. As everyone already knows, there's a public town hall that's going to occur on September 21st that many elected officials have signed on to, and that we've invited the governor and invited the director of corrections to come out to take part of a conversation. If they don't show up, still we're going to have a town hall and still have a conversation that occurs. But what I hope happens is that town hall is a month from now. So I hope that over the next 4 weeks, we can come to a resolution where we can come to a more palatable site and we can have real, legitimate community conversations so we can have some sort of community buy-in and a community process where it might not be somewhere that everyone likes or it might not be the dream ideal solution, but at least we can have true Northeast Lincoln voices heard. So thank you to everyone that came to hear. I hold out hope that September 21st will not be a meeting of us versus them, but rather saying we accomplished something. This is a new potential site, and we're moving forward and alleviating the concerns of people in Northeast Lincoln. So thank you, folks.
No one else coming forward? No one else coming forward. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Duden,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. Good night.